Hey everyone, this is Peggy with Sweet Tea Makery, where we make sweet southern home decor and more. And today we're going to work on a fall project. We're going to work on this cute sunflower and chickadee garden picture. We're going to make a flower arrangement. So welcome to my channel. Let me know where you're viewing from. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and hit that tap that notification bell so that you'll see new content as I upload it. So I'm working on some things that I'm going to be putting in a vendor booth that I'll be opening, and it will be opening in fall. That's the plans. It's in a larger marketplace with other vendors, so I'm hoping to get a head start on some of these items that I want to sell in my shop. So I'm going to tilt you down, and we're going to show you how I put this together as far as the base. So I'm starting with this foam. It's a floor foam, and it happens to come in this round cylinder, and I happen to have this one on hand. You can cut your own foam, of course, and add that in. So I'm going to slip it in. It happens to fit this container just perfectly. It's pretty snug, but still easily can be placed in it. And now I've taken some moss. This is just some sheet moss that can be torn quite easily to kind of work it around the top of my floor foam, just so that it hides, you know, it's a little more, to me, a little more professional if you add a little bit of foam to that. You don't need a lot, and then you can always add more later if you decide that, you know, you can still see it. So I'm going to take this pen. It's a floral pen. Some people call it an S pen, like Sam. S is in Sam. It only needs a few pins to hold it in place. And that's just going to help me keep it from shifting around as we start to decorate. Okay, so that's what we have so far. I'm just going to show you how it stays in place. And again, if you want to add a little bit more, you can, or if you feel like you don't quite have it covered, then you can add a little bit more, and I'll do a little bit more. So right now I'm using sheet moss. Okay, there's different types of mosses you can use. This just happens to be what I had on hand, and it's very easy to tear. I'll just show you quickly. It's super easy, see, to tear apart. And I see one little place that I want to add that to. Let me see if I can find my other S pen. I think I might just see if we can't. I had an extra one. Sorry, guys. Oh well, I'll just get it out of the bag. So the supplies that I use, I will list down in my description so that you can easily find them as well. I order my S pens in a large bag because it's just more economically feasible for me. So now we have our container mossed, and that just gives it a little bit more professional look, and then it also helps you where you don't necessarily have to add a lot of greenery around the bottom to try to hide it. I see a lot of people that do that. It is kind of a beginner type thing that I think a lot of people that are just learning floral design tend to do. And I had a florist friend who did help me with some of the things. I'm self-taught, but she did help me with some of the questions that I had in the early years back in in the late 80s and 90s. Okay, so now I need to just tilt you up just a little bit so that you can start seeing the overall design a little better as we move forward. So this is going to be a sunflower arrangement. So what I have done is I purchased these beautiful sunflower picks, and they are a mixed greenery. As you can see, it has a lot of different greeneries. And I'm using also one that's in the white as well. Now they look very similar. There's a few little slight differences with some of the greenery, but that's okay, we can mix that. So when I buy these, initially they're very usually like this, closed up like that, and so you want to spread them out a little bit, give them a little life, bend them around, and let them kind of air out, as I say. And you don't have to do a lot of it because you'll still be adjusting as you work on your centerpiece. And when I purchase these, I try to do the least amount of cutting. So I don't cut all these pieces off because the manufacturers pay the floral designers a lot of money to design these so that they look aesthetically pleasing. So where I can, I don't cut them. Now, in some cases, you can cut your stems apart. When you cut them, what that is doing is it is allowing you to a little bit more control of your placement. But with this being a smaller piece, I don't feel like I need to have that much control on the greenery. I can actually manipulate it because it's all wired, so I'm not going to do that here. Now I do have some individual greenery that I will be adding in, and that's where I can be a little bit more precise for placement. So this is the stem as it comes, the full length of it, and honestly, I really don't think I need to trim it because this is going to be the first focal piece I'm going to use. It's a larger flower, so I'm going to start with just by placing it in the center. And I've got it here, and I think that's pretty as tall as I want to go. So there are some rules that and there are really no rules that you have to follow, but there are some rules. So one of the rules is that a lot of times that they say is that your center focal piece should be 2.5 times the height of your container, and that's not a 100% rule that I follow. I go by how I see the design and how tall I think it should be, and for where I think a client or a customer would use this. So I'm going to start off with just that centerpiece. Now you can use a glue pot or a glue gun or whatever you so desire to insert your flowers. I don't always do that, especially when I'm just using the stem as is. But you certainly can add glue to it. I just want to tilt you up just a tad bit more so you can kind of get a little bit feel of that. So we've added the centerpiece, and I start with my larger flowers first. So now I've taken this white one here, and I've already pre-fluffed this out just a little bit so we don't take so much time doing that. And I also trimmed about 3 inches off of it, and this is a paper wrapped stem. See? So that's when I for sure dip it in my glue pot because that helps to keep it from unraveling. And I'm going to kind of come at an angle. Whoops, wrong direction. I'm going to come at an angle here. And I'm going from yellow to white. And I'm just going to stagger it down. And right now I'm going to insert these 4 main larger florals. And then we'll work on the greenery part. So I've got a yellow one here and a white one here. So I'm going to do, let's see, I want to do it opposite. And I've trimmed this one off about 3 inches as well. And I usually go through and kind of see. I think we'll do maybe one here. Yeah, okay. So now I'm going to take this other white one, and again, we've fluffed it out some, but we'll work on it. We're going to go in the opposite direction of that. And I'm just going to try to go just a little bit lower than the other one that I have. And then I'm going to come back with this yellow one. And again, I fluffed it out and it will catch. That's the only thing. It will catch to it, all those little pieces. So now I'm going to add this yellow flower right here. And I'm going to come just a little bit lower. We want to lower it and sort of step it up. And then the reason why I don't always glue it is because a lot of times I feel like it needs adjusting, and it's easier to do it once you haven't already added that glue. And I may add another flower to this one. We'll see if I need to. I just want to see how I've got that going. I may have to go get another sunflower because I feel like maybe it needs a 5th one in there. See how it's a little empty there? So let me just grab this other one back here from my stash. And we'll see. Okay, I need to take the label off of this one. So again, you see the length on that. That's what we originally started with. It hasn't really been fluffed. I've got a yellow one here. I'm making my yellow one more dominant. So I'm going to use my heavy duty trimmers, and I'm going to trim it off about 3 inches, 3.5 inches. We're going to fluff it out just a little bit. And again, we'll move these around and get them a little bit more. There we go, I like that better. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And I may move this white one, I'm not quite sure, but I think it kind of matches. So I'm okay, because we're going to be adding some other flowers in there. Okay. So this is what I have so far. And as you can see, that moss is doing an awesome job kind of hiding that floral foam down there. And again, it's sheet moss. And you can tuck it down in the edges too. So I've picked out some other florals. I decided to use some of these that look similar to a sunflower, but they're actually black-eyed Susans. These are kind of a creamy white. And these are sort of a bright yellow and a lighter shade of yellow, so it's a mixture. And because these stems are not as sturdy as our picks were, I used a stemmy machine called a steel pick machine, and I added these steel picks to that so that it's easier for me to insert the flowers. And it really helps a lot. So I've added that one in, and we'll just use, if I need more, I can make more. But we're just going to go around and kind of add these in. Sometimes we have to manipulate the greenery a little bit, and I'll be moving that around. I just like to kind of get a feel for it and then add it in. So we'll do some that are actually a little taller and some that are actually a little lower toward the base. And then what I'm doing is just inserting it, and I'm kind of like moving it around to see where I think I might like to see it. Okay. So I kind of like the idea of doing a few a little bit lower. And again, we'll be using some of this greenery and pulling some of it down and moving it around so that it's has its sort of own little life there. Okay, I've got some here, and I feel like I need to move this one just a little bit forward. All right, there we go. So I'll kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. So you see how we've added those in? It doesn't need very many of them. It just needs just a few. And now I'm going to work on the other side. And usually I try to do the opposite, but I think this one needs a little bit of white to break up the yellow. So I've added a white one here, and maybe put a little bit of yellow over in here. So I've added some yellow here. I'm going to bring some of that yellow again. We're just trying to make sure we have nice balance of color and form in the shape of our florals. And then I'm constantly turning it to see what I think might need to be added. We already have a yellow one here, but this is a little darker shade of yellow. So I think I need to come down just a little bit in the top. And maybe, let's see. Yeah. I don't want to do too much white there. Oops. Now sometimes these flowers will, the heads will come off, so you just have to add a little bit of glue and then just put them back on and they'll stay on. Trying to decide, I need a little bit lower one down here, so I think I'll come in a little lower. Just a little lower, and we can always add more once we kind of get it, but this is what we have so far. Okay, and I like to do things when I'm doing some florals. I like to do things with in 3 or in odd numbers. I do like that kind of rule, if you want to call it a rule. I think it is more pleasing to the eye, and so I do like to do that. So what I mean by that is I'm going to add a third floral, but this one is actually going to be a willow branch that has a little bit of a floral design. It has some yellow. They're not really pods, but it's a little bit of a yellow floral to it. And it's a willow branch, so it's all bendable. And I've done a couple of those. I also used a steel pick on those. But let me show you. So you can use, if you don't have that, they do come in just a plain branch. No florals on them. Or they come in a variety of ways. This one actually has just a green floral, not much color to it. So let me tell you a little trick. So if you have something that's like this, and you kind of want to add something that has yellow, you know, a little yellow to it, you can take some chalk paint or acrylic paint and just brush over these little pods and let them dry. Not much, you know, just brush around it just to give it just a touch of color. And that's just a little trick that some florists use. A lot of times they use the floral tinting sprays, but when it just calls for a small, minute amount, you can use acrylic paint for that. Same process, because sometimes the spray, the tinting, floral tinting spray, it gets too heavy. So this has 2 branches on it, and these are wired too. So we're going to add that one in as well. And I think I'm just going to try to go down in the center. I'm just going to go down here in the center of this and insert it, because then we can manipulate it and work it through our design. So I've got this here. I'm just going to work it in here. It has a little bit of a branch to this white one already. I'm not super fond of it because it does have a plasticky look to it. So I may trim that out because I like the natural looking willow to it. But we'll see. Sometimes I'll leave it in, but I'm not a big fan of that one. That's the part that I don't care for too much on this. And so if it starts to get too heavy looking, that's when you want to start moving some of your greenery down and around and out, just to give it a little more natural look. And again, I'm just moving this around so that it looks a little more natural to me. Pulling out some of these leaves and pulling them down and giving it that nice kind of airy garden look. So we can manipulate this. So when we're pulling some of this greenery down here, this is the edge of the top of your container is called the plane of your container. And so they'll call this, what we call this, when you bring your florals down past that plane, it's called breaking the plane. And it just also just gives it a natural look too, a very organic look to your design. And you want to use a mixture of greenery to come down. You don't want to just do one particular kind. And again, we're just manipulating this around to make it look. You can even bend the larger stem if you need to, just to make sure that it has an even sort of look. And you can even pop this up a little bit if you need to. I might work it up just a tad if I feel like it needs to be a little taller. But this is what we have so far. As you can see, I just kind of wanted you to get a close-up of it as I'm putting this in, because sometimes it is really hard to see the detail when you're working on these. Okay, so this side we've already added, remember we've already added that branch. So I have another branch, another one, and I'm going to come on this side, and I just like to go from the center because you can easily bend this downward if you need to and curl it up. And again, I'm bending it down and just working it through my design. just so it kind of looks like a natural branch. And again, I just work it where I have some of my greenery, where I feel like I need to fill in the holes. I just come through and work my greenery down and move it around. That's why I love it, because you can just, when it's all wired like that, you can just move it around and place it wherever you want and curl those up. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that one. This one is just out almost a little bit too much. So I'm going to lift it up just a little bit. Push it forward. And again, okay. So this is what we have so far. And again, we can add a little bit more of those flowers and a little bit more of that willow if we need to, if we feel like we need to. But I do feel like it's almost a little too open and it needs something a little bit here. So what I have is taken some Fern, and I have again used a steel pick machine to pick it. Now you don't have to use a steel pick machine. You can take wooden floral, there are green wooden sticks that you can get from Hobby Lobby or Michael's. They all carry them, and they have a copper wire around them, and you can also wrap your florals with that stick and insert them if you don't have a pick machine. So let's make sure I get the right side in. So I'm going to start adding just a little bit greenery. I'm going to start from the base. And I love using Fern in my design because I really feel like it's airy. It gives it such a nice, and these are wired too, so it gives it such a nice airiness to it. And I love this because it's wired from the bottom all the way up to here, so I can really manipulate it. And I just go around and start adding a little bit. I'm adding it to the base right here. We're going to add it there first, and then we'll add a few up through the center. But we're just trying to give a little bit more depth to that, to the base, to give it some weight and balance it out. So now I've got two pieces of this one left, and I'm going to go up into the center, up in here, just to kind of carry that through. And we're going to come to the other side and do that as well. Another thing that the steel picks do is help add a little height to your design. So again, I like an airiness to it, but this particular pick bush had a few more of these. They're a little lighter shade and a little smaller and a little different size than these other ones, so I'm going to add those in too. I had just a few of those, and we'll kind of extend out that design and bring it. I'm just adding it here, and I'm going through. I'm going to probably do it on all sides. It's bendable as well. Come back over here. I'm going to do one a little lower, just to kind of carry that design down. And I think I feel like I have a hole here. Sometimes when you're doing this, you can finish the piece and think it's totally finished, and then come back the next day and you say, oh, I have a hole here. You know, that's perfectly normal to do. And a lot of times you can actually photograph your piece, and you can actually see the places that you need to work on a little better sometimes when you're filming that. So right now that's what I have. I kind of like it. I think I'm going to go with it and see where it takes me. If I need to lift up my flowers just a tad or move any placements. But right now, this is the design, and I'm kind of happy with it. So again, I might come back and make a little bit of adjustments. But just so you can see, if you can see that in there, see how that moss, you can't really see that floral foam? That's the difference of using moss. And it doesn't, moss can be expensive, so, but when you're only using a small amount, compared to adding a lot more greenery, you know, it's either relative or you're actually coming out less budget-wise if you just take the time to do a little bit of that moss. Plus it gives it a little bit more professional finish to your design. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about was that you can leave this design as is, and here is your handle. And so if you want to, you can add a bow. I looked at this yesterday, and I looked at some of the ribbons that I had that had a pattern on it, and I honestly, it just was just too, they were too busy, the ones that I had that were handy. And so I looked at this little gingham, and I thought, well, that's kind of cute. So your ribbon can also take this design and bring it from a summer to a fall design, and you know, the ribbons that you choose. So this could be both summer and fall. It's a good neutral. It's a little yellow gingham check, and I just made a small little miniature bow that I thought maybe we'll try and see how that works. But if you added a little bit of orange or a little bit of peach to your design, say something like this, and you wanted to come in and start adding a little more, you know, say another color to your design, and just add a little bit more peach to it, then you can also maybe pick up that on your ribbon, and then it'll really tend to lean more toward a fall design. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing your ribbons and how you want to present your piece, whether you want it to be, to me this is a neutral when it has no bow on it, and then when you start adding bows, just consider the color and the patterns that you're going to use. So again, this is plain. This is just a plain view of it. So let's just add, and I'm going to add, I'm actually going to come in here and add it up on the handle of it, and I'm just going to wire it on. We're just taking a look just to see how that presents. Okay, so with this, so now you see how a little bow will look on the corner, and that's on the handle. And you can actually take and put this bow on a floral stick, or if you have a skewer, you could wire it to that, or you can incorporate it down in actual to the design if you choose to do that. So again, I'm going to pull this back and let you see how that looks. I'm going to just lower it so you can see it. How about we just spin it on the board, and you can get a little closer look too. Get a little closer and in-depth around like that. Or we can just go in the center. Okay, so that's my little sunflower picture arrangement that can go beautifully in a foyer, on your buffet, on your dining room table, even in your kitchen. If you have a kitchen island, that would look beautiful. And you can even place these, if you have a large enough vanity in your bathroom. It's always nice to add some beautiful florals, you know, to bring a little sunshine to your bathrooms and on your porches. So there's lots of places that you can use these designs. You can even put them if you have a bookcase that maybe flanks either side of your fireplace. You could, rearrange your shelves and add one of these to it, making it a little taller, and adjust your books, or whatever items that you have on your bookcase. So my background is in home staging and interior decorating. I have a certification in interior decorating from way back in the 90s. So one of my loves is staging homes and just home decor, period. So when I make these, I always imagine all the different places that it can be used. So I will post on my Facebook page. I always come back and I share my YouTube videos to my Facebook page, and then I vice versa. I'll share my Facebook page's videos up to YouTube most of the time, and so I will come back and put those a little better photo of how this actually looks in a photograph. And a lot of times the videos don't always, give it as much justice. So again, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, you can do that now, and you can let me know, give me a thumbs up if you liked this tutorial and like to see more of them. I do a lot of different things of wreaths and centerpieces, but and swags. So if there's anything particular that you want to see me do, please comment below and let me know. And don't forget, I'll put some of these items where I got them from, so that if you want to order them and make your own, you can. I know these sunflowers are still available at the shop that I purchased them from, and they do have an online presence, and they actually do have these listed. This one and this white one listed. So I was just there the other day, and I know that they still had a good many available. And these can be used for many, many things. So I'm going to stand back, and just to give you a feel, this is another video that I did. We're going to scoot this over here, where I used these same exact sunflowers. And the video that I did, I actually made it for a lantern. This is just the versatility of these. So here is the lantern swag that I actually made, and I placed it on this wreath. And it's super simple, super easy, but that's how I used it. But I actually made it for a lantern, but I took it off and put it on here just to kind of get a feel for how it would look on my wreath. So these lantern swags and those items, shouldn't do that, sorry, no, kind of placed it, can be used in many, many places, as can your centerpieces. But thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again soon. I'll be uploading some new content. I have some more filming to do that I want to get done and post it for everyone, so that you can start creating some of your own floral designs, centerpieces, and wreaths. Anyway, thank you so much, and y'all have a blessed evening. Bye now.